there was agreement with the British Council definition, the group felt that the definition must include the individual level at which culture is experienced and the diverse cultural communities. Okay. The benefits of any cultural relationship we felt was a give and take relationship and a mutual respect, and that allows cultural relationships to grow and to be nurtured. But and we also reiterated that the reception of a cultural exchange leads to development and more learning. And we also talked about how the focus on the youth multiplies the benefits for all cultural transactions to take place. We felt the priorities were at this point that new sectors are to be included in this cultural relationship. That in India now there is a danger of sticking to the tried and tested, because we need to diversify across a range of cultural groups and broaden the understanding of culture as social identities and not just on the practice of certain aesthetic forms. And the changing perceptions of India and UK amongst the youth through exchanges needs to be used as a channel for cultural transactions. Our group also felt that most cultural exchanges are now restricted to performances and events, but it is the preservation of cultural material, practice and artifacts that is most essential.
We wanted to think about a hybrid between the British Council definition and the UNESCO definition. We liked the focus of the British Council definition on opportunities, but because I think that, or we all think, that the reality of people's lives really do center around practical opportunities, economic opportunities, and initially cultural exchanges that work and have worked over centuries have often started with those kinds of practical questions. But we also liked the element in the UNESCO definition of the emphasis on cultural expression, the diversity of cultural expression. Because if we're just talking about opportunities and exchanges of that sort, it often develops a dominant relationship, a dominance relationship where one side is able to offer more opportunities or more easily recognizable opportunities. So we wanted to sort of have that in our mind in terms of cultural relationship. Also, sometimes I think depending on what sector you're coming from or what your experience is, you think of culture in a particular way.
Cultural relationship, it needs to be dynamic, it needs to progress with the time. Attitude, mindset is a major issue that we find. Whenever we are traveling to the UK or when they come over to India, incidents, small anecdotes that we keep hearing, it just exposes the lack of awareness that there is between the two cultures. So again, another word, awareness. Respect. Before we understand or before we build a cultural relationship, we need to be aware of the others' social values, social practices, and respect them. We may not agree with them, but we have to respect and be aware of them. This orientation needs to be there before we build a relationship. Information sharing. We realized while we were talking, Nandita mentioned that we don't share information, a lot of information sharing is not there. So we need to know, we need to find out other media where we can share it or exchange information, share our stories. And maybe this is where the media, we have got 3 representatives here from the media who believe very strongly that the media needs to be involved more fully if a successful, strong relationship between the two cultures have to be made.
In terms of culture, like Mala mentioned before, I think it depends on the demographic that is answering the questions. At my age, the UK has been a huge benefactor. I've always kind of lent on the UK for support. But in the next generation, I think there's equally as much that one can bargain back and forth between the two, and UK can learn from India as much as we can from them. So it's definitely a very valid relationship that has history and a future. but I don't think in the same trajectory. The trajectories will differ depending on what your needs are.
We felt that the cultural relationship is really restricted to the upper echelons of society and not so much to the rural or the lesser privileged sections of society. And this was different from those who went, the earlier diasporas who went from some of the lesser privileged sections of society because of economic needs and because of limited educational possibilities. But today that is different, and we felt that that should be taken into account, and that should be one area that should really be focused on, and people-to-people relationships developed in that.
The reality is that there are many cultural communities that remain outside the radar of the relationship. But there are also many valuable links that have been forged through individual and institutional links. We felt that the British Council plays a very important role in this, but there is, not at the cost of, actually to facilitate these links and also as a role of in the role of a catalyst. But these links we did feel were very, very valuable and needs to be strengthened and fostered.
The second point, relative relationship, are there countries with which India has a much stronger relationship than the UK? No, and we're kind of thinking in terms of formal official relationships here. But we agreed that the Maximum Bhavan is actually coming pretty close. And certainly if you put together the fact that we are seeing fewer arts events, British Council sponsored, supported in Calcutta, then if you really kind of put them on a weighing scale, you will find that probably the Max Muller Bhavan Data Institute in Calcutta is doing as much as the British Council, if not more.
Right now, if you ask a 20-year-old, he'll say USA is the country with whom he engages with most.
I realize that students now, they look at USA again as the preferred destination and Singapore. But while they are still in school, UK is very, very significant, and I would definitely say that the British Council plays a very big role in this, and because of the interaction and so on, and they are interested in cultural ties, they are interested in the museums, the art, and so on. But when it comes to colleges and universities and research, they do look elsewhere. That's what I thought.
Strengthening the relationship. We felt that many of the initiatives that the British Council has taken in the past, and for instance, we were talking about the decades-old school drama tradition. Many of these need to be sustained.
The education sector, how we strengthen relationship with the education sector, more scholarships to be opened up, not just in our students going to the UK, but definitely in inviting students from there to come and study here. Exchange of faculty is what you mentioned, Anu, but exchange of faculty as well as students would definitely bring about a stronger link with culture. For the creative industry, more funding from organizations are welcome. Organizations like British Council, they do quite a bit, I thought, but yes, we're always welcome.
Well, we did discuss the arts, education and media, and we do feel that the arts are not that well represented on a scale of 1 to 10, especially if you're thinking of all the organization in the arts collaborating and working together, when we have to say that 1 to 2 would be the highest that we find in the current relationship. Education is a little bit higher given the total quantum and the number of collaborations, so we would probably opt for a 3 on the scale of 10. And media, we were discussing about whether all the media in India is interested in collaborating, but there isn't much now. There are certain individual collaborations among specific newspapers with specific other newspapers, and therefore, again, we would place it at around 2.
We thought, well, environment is at 5, media 3, creative industries 4, education we split into secondary, where we gave 2, keeping in mind the school sector in rural areas, and higher education and research 5 to 6.
We did feel that in higher education, general education and the arts, there was a higher rating than journalism, and certainly special education and disability art and disability culture as such, the ratings were lower.
List other organizations which we know to have working links with organizations in the UK. Well, there are quite a few actually, and I was quite surprised myself. The Royal Shakespeare Company we know of course. The BBC has a striking young journalists program in which they have been asking school children to write in, and therefore that's continuing separately. Lever Hume Foundation, Teamwork, for instance, which is part of the literary festival circuit now, they are independently doing work too.
I deal with sport where, cricket, we are the USA of cricket, that's what we always say. So we are in a position of power. So there we see the UK engages with us at a different level, where we have IPL players, we have agents coming to us, wooing us. And then I did this literary meet where the boot was on the other foot, where I was wooing, British Council, the powers that be in London, and I realized there is a disconnect in some areas in the way they perceive us. I'm not sure they think we go to school on elephants, but yes, they feel that perhaps the literature we read and we want is not the literature they would like us to read, or they don't think, there is a disconnect somewhere. So in this give and take is, I think, where the cultural relations between the two countries, reside.
We saw the barriers as comprising a focus on metropolitan centres and in the focus on poverty tourism.
The biggest barriers we agreed was the government, especially the Indian. We all know how difficult the Indian government is. It just barriers everything.
You mentioned the government, yes, we put it this way, that these are controlled by a handful of people and not disseminated to the mass. Also, the FDI caps are a great barrier.
The barriers we felt over here were really the visa restrictions. The visa restrictions both in the amount of money that has to be spent and also the process.
The enablers are, of course, all the individuals, our intellectual property in India, in terms of what they are capable of doing, have very often on their own initiative actually enabled so many things that, but it's really individual initiative. And of course, again here, British Council's efforts in this direction need to be commended.
Break away from the tried and tested focus groups as defined by ICCR and other major players, and to accommodate the less familiar social identities and to hear the silent voices and less than visible cultural communities.
My only point was that if we do form a larger cultural matrix and bring in more organizations into this cultural matrix, what happens sometimes British Council may not have a priority to do a certain project, but gets information about it. How this can be disseminated to the rest of the cultural organizations. And if that cultural matrix could be made larger, whether it's from India Foundation for the Arts sends us information, or British Council, and how it could penetrate to the smaller organizations, which could then take up that initiative and take it forward. This would be a great help.
Our shared history, the language that we share, a very powerful diaspora from India, which represents India more creditably in the UK than the diaspora in the US or in other countries does. So that is a big enabler. Then the shared history and the shared democratic traditions. These help these two countries in a way which means we'll always look forward to, we cannot do without each other. But looking forward, we feel it will have to be more a relationship of equals and not one in which we are getting more and giving less.
We suggested that infrastructure is going to grow, and how are we going to bring people in here from the lesser privileged sections of society to India so that the cultural relationship is more broad-based.
The example was about artist participation at a fair in London, the Free Art Fair 2010, where Experimenter was showing Kolkata artist Shanchan Ghosh, whose project was 1,000 square feet installation of shola flowers, white roses, which spelled out the word dusra, the idea of the other, and the whole idea of him wanting, I don't know who the other is, whether he is the other or the other who's walking through that maze within the Queen's Park or the Regent's Park. But things like that which sensitizes, of course the idea wasn't to sensitize, I think Choudhury would kill me for even thinking like that, but in the context of culture being a medium to bring in the awareness and understanding of these issues that we just discussed, and that was the whole context of this example.
The thing is that somebody mentioned traffic, two-way flow. The traffic will flow this way more, from Britain to India more, because we are going at an exponential rate compared to them, and they can't afford to ignore us now. They need us now. Last year, Britain grew is only 0.8%, whereas we grew by 8.4% probably, and this year we will grow by 7% at least. So it won't to cut down on scholarships. The children's scholarship was cut down. So if you need more interaction, if Britain needs more interaction to India, they cannot cut down on these kind of programs. That's one thing. And the second thing is that I have noticed one thing, like there's a lot of work being done by DFID, but the people who benefit from it, they hardly realize that it's DFID's work or it's the government's work. But if you go to a slum and ask about Japan Bank, they know, because Japan Bank funds those West Metro and the flyovers and all that. So my point is that infrastructure is going to be a very big thing in India in the next 10 years. This will be the biggest thing, this will be bigger than education also. Because it not only includes your flyovers and bridges, but also getting drinking water to the villages. And in the next 10 years, this will be the biggest sector. So if the UK could find some way to get involved in this, in terms of money and in terms of expertise, then there could be a lot more interaction between the UK and India.
And Mr. Mukhopadhyay had an interesting observation here that perhaps the way, the part of Indian literature which the UK still identifies with most is writing in English. And he feels a lot needs to be done by way of translations, which is an area in which, again, a UK sponsorship or scholarship can help. Earlier, UNESCO had undertaken such initiatives, but the sheer volume that is at hand would require various grants, various donors to come forward to do this. And there is tribal literature. Mr. Mukhopadhyay works with northeastern literature, some of which are oral traditions, some of which are tribal traditions. So these are areas which will get lost. And this is where, the UK is not the US. This is where we expect the UK to show more cultural sensitivity and step in and help us so that we don't lose certain parts of our culture.